In the game of power, the most effective victories are those won without drawing a blade. One of the most elegant and devastating strategies is to destroy a person using the very thing they cherish the most: their ego. It is a weapon they hold close to their chest, unaware it can be used to pierce their own armor. You do not need to attack them. You simply need to let them self-destruct while thinking they are ascending. The ego is a fragile and predictable force. It craves recognition, superiority, and validation. It makes men deaf to reason and blind to warning. The moment someone believes they are untouchable is the precise moment their downfall begins. This descent must not come from your hand. Instead, you must become the sculptor of their pride. Stroke it, feed it, encourage it, applaud them not out of loyalty but strategy. Begin with subtle flattery. Not the kind that is obvious and foolish, the kind that is strategic. Well-timed acknowledgments that seem genuine. When they make a mediocre decision, treat it as genius. When they show vanity, encourage their leadership. Soon, they will crave your praise. They will see you as a believer in their grandeur, a supporter of their illusion. And that is exactly where you want them. Standing at the edge of the cliff, believing they are on a throne. Once they are bloated with pride, they will begin to act without caution. They will speak without restraint, expose secrets, offend the wrong people, underestimate their opponents. They will lose the very discipline that once made them powerful. You haven't attacked them. You haven't confronted them. You've simply given them the rope, and they will tie their own noose. They will begin to surround themselves with weaker people who admire their inflated persona. They will push away anyone who challenges their thinking. This is good. Isolation disguised as supremacy is the perfect condition for collapse. When their ego is loudest, they will ignore warnings and signals. They will take bold steps without foundation, invest without calculation, insult without awareness. Let them believe they are the smartest in the room. Let them walk into the trap of overexposure. The higher they climb on the staircase of arrogance, the harder they will fall. You remain calm. You remain in the shadows. There is no need to defend or retaliate. Their actions will build your case for you. Their ego will write the story of their defeat. Occasionally, offer them minor challenges, not to destroy them, but to push them further into proving themselves. Ask a question that sounds innocent, but is designed to trigger their pride. Are you sure this is your best work? I wouldn't have thought of doing it that way. These simple statements make their ego scream for validation, and in response, they go to war with their own doubt. They begin performing for an audience that isn't even watching. When you understand the psychology of pride, you realize that some men do not need an enemy. They simply need an opportunity to overestimate themselves. That is the art. That is the weapon. You must remain composed, almost humble, as they devour the illusion of their own greatness. You must never show satisfaction in their downfall. That reveals intent, and intent weakens the illusion. It must always appear that they chose their own path, that their failure was born not from sabotage, but from their own blindness. You are the architect of their illusion. You do not need to strike them. You need to reflect them. Become their mirror. Let them talk about themselves. Let them interrupt you. Let them dismiss your suggestions. Over time, they will believe you are beneath them. That belief is the first stage of your victory, because no man guards against the one he sees as inferior. A man with a swollen ego sees everyone else as smaller. He will no longer anticipate betrayal. He will no longer calculate threats. He will no longer second-guess his instinct. That is when his empire begins to rot. His decisions will be driven by emotion, entitlement, and the need to prove he is above criticism. All you must do is watch the performance unfold. Ego cannot be destroyed by argument. It must be destroyed by experience. And experience is the most brutal teacher when guided by invisible hands. You do not need to confront the proud man. You simply need to create the stage on which he will perform the tragedy of his own undoing. His pride will write the script. His ego will direct the scene. You only need to ensure the lights stay on. The illusion of strength often lies in noise, reaction, and presence. Many believe that power means taking action, speaking first, or confronting threats head-on. But in reality, true dominance is found in restraint. Strategic withdrawal is not an act of surrender. It is a calculated decision that repositions the balance of power in your favor. It is not a retreat from fear. It is a movement rooted in foresight. To destroy without attacking, one must learn the art of vanishing from the battlefield, while still controlling its outcome. When you withdraw, you deny your opponent the satisfaction of knowing your strategy. You strip them of clarity. You introduce doubt. You create a vacuum where they expected resistance. This uncertainty is more disarming than any direct blow. People prepare for confrontation. They do not prepare for silence. They are ready for a fight, but they are not ready to be ignored, evaded, or observed from a distance. When you choose not to engage, you throw off their rhythm. You force them to question their assumptions. They will begin to chase shadows while you remain still, calculating every move they make. Strategic withdrawal places you in the role of the observer. From this vantage point, you see everything: their weaknesses, their desperation, their blind spots. You watch them expend their energy swinging at ghosts, reacting to a threat that is no longer present. Meanwhile, you conserve your resources, your mind sharpens, and your emotions settle. You are no longer part of their chaos. You are the one orchestrating it by absence alone. Patience becomes your sword. The longer you stay withdrawn, the more desperate they become. They may interpret your silence as fear or weakness, which is exactly what you want. Let them believe you have no answer. Let them mock your absence. Let them believe they are winning. In truth, they are playing a game they no longer control. Every loud move they make is a sign that they are unsettled by your quiet. Every escalation reveals their need for resolution. The louder they shout into your silence, the more they expose themselves. When you withdraw, you choose the terrain and the timing of future engagement. You are no longer playing by their rules. You set your own conditions. This is where true power lies, not in reacting to their moves, in refusing to play the game until it benefits you. You deny them the emotional satisfaction of conflict. You deny them clarity. You deny them the ability to define you by their attacks. That denial eats away at their certainty and poisons their confidence. There is a wisdom in walking away from a trap rather than trying to dismantle it. When your enemy tries to provoke you, what they want is visibility. They want you exposed, emotional, and responsive. If you rise to meet their aggression, you enter their frame and give them the very battle they crave. But when you pull away, you leave them suspended in a state of tension. They have built momentum with nowhere to go. Their anger turns inward. Their paranoia grows. They wonder if you are planning something greater, or if you've already won and they haven't realized it yet. This type of psychological manipulation is far more damaging than confrontation. A wound from battle heals, but the silent erosion of certainty, of never knowing what the other side is thinking, planning, or waiting for, breaks even the strongest minds. Strategic withdrawal transforms you into a ghost. You become an idea rather than a person, and ideas cannot be attacked. They cannot be predicted. They become omnipresent, ungraspable, and feared. By withdrawing, you preserve your dignity. You make no mistakes in anger. You reveal no vulnerabilities in haste. You refuse to become predictable. The more you control your visibility, the more you control perception. Power is not about being loud. It is about being undeniable even in absence. The one who watches quietly has 1,000 eyes. The one who waits without speaking has already chosen the moment of reckoning. And that moment will arrive only when every variable favors him. Until then, he lets others exhaust themselves in foolish attempts to provoke a presence that has already moved beyond their reach. Your enemy cannot defeat what he cannot find. He cannot fight what he cannot understand. And he cannot predict what you refuse to reveal. Strategic withdrawal turns your silence into a weapon. It is not surrender. It is the art of choosing victory over impulse. It is the decision to let your enemy run in circles while you move in straight lines. It is not about hiding. It is about watching the fire consume everything while holding the match that started it. Silence is not weakness, it is a trap, a strategy, and a judgment passed without a single word. When someone spreads lies, slanders your name, or weaves deception to paint you as the villain, the common instinct is to respond, to defend, to clear the air. But this is exactly what they desire: your reaction. They seek your energy, your emotional involvement, your need to correct the false narrative. Because the moment you engage, you acknowledge the game. You step into the arena they built. And once you're there, The rules are no longer yours. But when you say nothing, when you meet lies with stillness and slander with a dead stare, you become unreadable. You give them nothing to work with. You deny them the very fuel their deceit needs: attention. You let them speak, let them exaggerate, let them dig the hole deeper. The more they speak into silence, the more absurd their voice becomes. A lie repeated without challenge eventually echoes in its own hollowness. And when an audience hears a voice echoed by no one, it begins to wonder why. The human mind is drawn to contradiction. When a man is accused, people naturally look to his response. If he rages, they wonder what guilt lives behind his anger. If he cries innocence too loudly, they question his desperation. But if he says nothing, they pause. The silence becomes suspicious, but not in the way the accuser intends. It provokes curiosity. It causes people to examine not the accused, but the accuser. Why does only one side speak? Why is there no counter-narrative? And in that silence, they begin to question the storyteller. A lie, to survive, must be fed. It needs constant reinforcement. The liar must repeat it, adjust it, protect it from scrutiny. Every lie creates a fragile architecture, and the larger the lie, the more effort is required to maintain it. When the one being lied about does not respond, the liar is left alone to maintain a growing tower of deceit. The silence from the other side becomes a weight. The liar must speak more, explain more, defend more. Each added word increases the risk of inconsistency. Eventually, they stumble. The narrative breaks under the weight of its own contradictions. And you never had to move a finger. By refusing to engage, you create a void. And into that void, the truth begins to creep. Observers notice small inconsistencies, the tone of desperation, the shifting storylines. They begin to see the performance, the cracks in the illusion. Meanwhile, your silence appears disciplined, measured, perhaps even noble. You are not the one fighting in the mud. You are above the noise, letting the truth unfold on its own. And when it finally does, when the liar is revealed, the victory is not only yours, it is earned without a word, without a stain on your dignity. There is also a deeper reason for silence. When you respond to a lie, you validate it. You give it weight. Even if you deny it, you confirm its importance. And in doing so, you elevate the liar. You allow them to stand beside you in the public eye, as if they deserve equal ground. But silence strips them of that platform. You refuse to even entertain the notion that they matter. You make them talk to themselves. And that is the greatest insult to the deceitful. The realization that even their lies are unworthy of your voice. People forget how powerful silence is because they are addicted to expression. They believe that every accusation must be countered, that every blow must be returned. But those who understand power know that silence is the sharpest form of resistance. It creates tension without effort. It projects confidence without arrogance. It makes people wait, listen, speculate. It creates a space where fear, doubt, and shame begin to fester. Not in you, but in the liar. Let them speak. Let them point. Let them scream. With every word they cast, they move further from their original truth. They trap themselves in the maze they built. And all the while, you remain unmoved, unread, untouched. You let the world observe the unraveling. Lies, once exposed, do not recover. And those who spread them are marked not by the content of what they said, but by the quiet judgment of a world that watched them speak into a silence that never needed to explain itself. In remaining silent, you do more than refuse engagement. You become the echo that never returns their voice. You create a mirror in which they only see themselves. And when they are forced to face their reflection without your interference, it is often more brutal than anything you could have said aloud. To destroy someone without lifting a sword, without speaking a word of slander, without making a direct attack, one must learn the art of turning strength into weakness, unity into suspicion, and loyalty into silence. Every powerful figure stands on a network of alliances, friendships, and unseen support. Rarely is someone dangerous by themselves. They are made dangerous by those who believe in them. So, to destroy a man, you do not attack him directly. You slowly remove the hands that hold him up. You do not cut down the tree. You rot the roots. The most effective way to do this is through subtle manipulation of perception. A man's allies are bound to him through trust, admiration, convenience, and sometimes fear. Each of these can be influenced without ever confronting them. Begin not with criticism, but with curiosity. Ask questions, not accusations. Have you noticed how much more aggressive he's become lately? Do you think he's been honest about everything with you? These statements do not attack, they plant. They place small seeds in the minds of those around him, seeds that will grow into hesitation. People naturally fear betrayal, and even more so, being deceived by someone they trusted. When you quietly suggest that someone's leader or friend may not be what they seem, you stir an ancient discomfort in the mind. You do not need to prove anything. You do not need evidence. You merely let the idea exist. Let it live in the background of their thoughts. Over time, every action the target takes will be filtered through this new lens. A harmless decision begins to look suspicious. A confident remark begins to feel manipulative. Their tone becomes questionable. Their motives unclear, and you have said nothing damaging, only allowed doubt to do its slow, irreversible work. The beauty of this strategy lies in its invisibility. The target will not know what has changed. They will not feel the knife, because there isn't one. All they will notice is that their allies have grown quieter, that the trust that once greeted them now feels strained, that their conversations are shorter, less warm, more formal. It is not an explosion, it is corrosion, and it is far more terrifying because it cannot be easily traced. They cannot defend against a ghost. Over time, they will begin to feel it, the shift in tone, the lack of eye contact, the subtle exclusion from decisions. They will sense that their once loyal supporters are beginning to second-guess them. This will drive them into paranoia. They will overcompensate, over-explain, try too hard to prove themselves. And in doing so, they will seem exactly like what you implied, untrustworthy. The more they defend, the more guilty they appear. The more they try to cling to their allies, the more those allies feel controlled rather than respected. Trust is not something that can be demanded. Once suspicion creeps in, it changes the entire atmosphere, and the most dangerous part is that it never announces its arrival. This strategy does not require you to be close to the target. In fact, it often works better when you're just on the periphery, present, but not involved. Someone who is always there, listening, asking small questions, making observations that sound innocent but cause a ripple. I thought it was strange how he didn't show up to support you. Didn't he say something different last week? He's been really focused on himself lately, hasn't he? Each one of these statements has an alibi. You're not attacking. You're just being observant. But what you're really doing is shaping a new version of the person in the minds of those who support him. Eventually, the target begins to lose influence. Their decisions are questioned. Their words carry less weight. Their circle, once tight and loyal, becomes fragmented. You have not taken their position. You have not declared war. You have simply ensured that when they speak, fewer people are listening with belief. That when they call, fewer come with conviction. They still appear strong from the outside, but they are hollow within. And when the moment comes for you to make your move, you will not face an army. You will face a man who stands alone, wondering how he lost everything without ever seeing the enemy. The best betrayals do not come with knives. They come with whispers, with shared looks, with moments of doubt that feel like instinct. And the most powerful manipulator is not the one who shouts the loudest, but the one who can make others question what they once knew for certain. When you dismantle trust, you dismantle everything built upon it. And when their inner circle becomes a circle of silence, you have succeeded in destroying them without ever entering the battlefield. Power does not always require confrontation. In fact, the most dangerous kind is the one that never reveals its face. To destroy someone without ever attacking them is not an act of aggression. It is an act of superior calculation. You do not need to raise your voice, strike with force, or be seen as the enemy. Instead, you dismantle your opponent through their own actions, their own emotions, and their own illusions. You make them overreach through their ego. You remove yourself from the battlefield and force them to swing at the air. You let their lies collapse under the weight of silence. And finally, you turn their support into doubt, isolating them from within. This is not the path of the impulsive. It is the path of the disciplined, the watchful, the strategic. It is for those who understand that the greatest victories are won not in noise, but in quiet precision. The art of invisible domination is not about being feared through violence, but about becoming untouchable, unpredictable, and unseen. When done properly, your target will never even realize that you were the architect of their fall. And that is true power.